Thanks, Reyes. Good morning. It is 6:30. Police are investigating after an elderly couple was killed in a crash in South Vancouver last night. It happened just after 8:30 on Main Street and East 49th Avenue when their van crossed the center line, hit a curb, and then smashed into 5 parked cars. The van was being driven by the couple's 38-year-old son. His 82-year-old father was in the back seat and was declared dead at the scene. His 74-year-old mother later died in hospital. Alcohol does not appear to be a factor. There are unconfirmed reports of a home invasion in downtown Vancouver early this morning. Police were called to an area in Yaletown near Homer and Davie at around 1 a.m. More details are expected to be released later, but it's believed 2 people may have been injured. More deadly gun violence in our region, this time in Abbotsford, where a teenage boy was killed in a drive-by shooting. Greg Harper joins us now from the scene with the latest. Greg?
Good morning, Jody. I just spoke to a man who describes the neighborhood he lives in as being quiet, as being safe, but it wasn't last night. A young man has been shot and killed, happened just behind me at the intersection of Sparrow Drive and Goldfinch Street. Police say when they arrived here, they found the victim inside of a dark-colored SUV, and he had been shot dead. And police believe the victim is a young man in his late teens and from Abbotsford. Reportedly, witnesses heard 1 or possibly 2 vehicles speeding away from the scene moments after the shots rang out.
At that location and in that vehicle, he located a male suffering from apparent gunshot wounds. He and an ambulance that arrived on scene assessed the male inside, who's believed to be a man in his teens and from Abbotsford, and determined that he was in fact deceased.
Abbotsford police also saying it's too early to say if this is drug or gang related. This is an investigation that will take some time. According to a couple officers I talked to this morning, they say they are waiting for daylight and they will comb through the area here. The investigation continues. Jody?
All right, thanks very much. Greg Harper reporting this morning from Abbotsford. It has been a long time coming, but the mother of one of the victims killed in the Surrey 6 murders says she now has justice.
I've been waiting for 7 years for this day, and it has come, and I am relieved.
Applause broke out in the courtroom as the judge found Cody Havisher and Matthew Johnston guilty of 6 counts of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. The judge said the 2 played key roles in the execution-style killings of the 6 victims. She said they planned to murder drug dealer Corey Lal over a failed extortion attempt, but they ended up killing 5 others, including 2 innocent bystanders, to eliminate witnesses. We're also learning more about 2 other Metro Vancouver homicides this week. 2 men have been arrested after reports of a disturbance led police to discover an unconscious man at a home in Langley on Wednesday night. Attempts to resuscitate him were unsuccessful, and the victim was pronounced dead in hospital. Police say homicide-related charges are pending, but there are still some important questions.
We haven't identified the victim, and that's a big piece of evidence that we require in order to determine what led up to the events. We know that the 2 individuals that have been taken into custody do not possess a criminal record. They are not known to police. So until we can identify who this victim is and what the motive was, we really don't have a lot of details that we can go out with at this point.
Meantime, a deadly shooting in Richmond was not random. Police responded to a report of shots fired at about 12:30 yesterday morning. But as with the shooting in Langley, very few details are being made available.
At this point, we have a tentative ID on that individual. We haven't confirmed his identity, so we're not going to be releasing his name, and we have yet to locate his family and notify them. Until we can do so, we will not be going out with his name. But I can tell you that evidence retrieved so far suggests that this was a targeted shooting. Again, we're asking if anyone has any information to come forward and call the iHit tip line.
A hospital patient in Toronto is being tested for Ebola, but an official says it's very unlikely the person has the virus. The patient, who is now in isolation, has a fever and had been in West Africa. Meanwhile, U.S. health officials are widening their search for people who may have come in contact with Ebola patient Thomas Duncan. Dallas health officials have listed about 100 people who might have had direct or indirect contact with Duncan since he arrived from Liberia on September 20th. Meanwhile, United Airlines is notifying passengers who were on flights last month with Duncan.